Okay. Having what? Not really. Come on,
They all have stuff on them.
all right. That's why.
Oh, I thought you needed to write on it.
Oh, no, you're good.
Is everybody ready? All right, good afternoon. Thank you all for being here on such short notice for this media briefing here. We thought, we typically don't do this a ton, but based on the circumstances of this one and having 3 deceased in a homicide, we felt it important to get out and to let the community and all of you hear from us. So we know there remain a number of questions regarding the homicide on Division Street in Truesdale overnight into Sunday that resulted in the tragic death of 3 Knoxville women. But this remains an ongoing investigation, and based on that, we will be really limited. We can't really answer any questions pertaining directly to the ongoing investigation, because for us, the most important thing at this moment is justice for those victims. Though our hearts are heavy, we are happy to say that thanks to the work of everyone in the department, a ton of resources in the department, and these 3 investigators over my left shoulder, the Knoxville Police Department's, we're happy to say that 12 hours after the Knoxville Police Department's initial response to what proved to be a heinous triple murder, the primary suspect was taken into custody with the arrest of 24-year-old Desmond Ray at around 4 p.m. on Sunday afternoon at a residence on Burberry Lane. Ray is currently being held for no bond warrants unrelated to this crime, and the investigation will be turned over to the Knox County District Attorney's Office, and charges are pending from the findings of the homicide investigation. Mr. Ray will have his moment, but we would like to focus our attention today on the victims of this crime. The Knoxville Police Department extends our sincerest condolences to those now grieving, the family, friends, and loved ones of the victims. We know the community is hurting as well, particularly those in West Knoxville that have been understandably shaken by this. We grieve alongside you and want to say that the grief and dismay was channeled into a concerted effort to identify and apprehend the perpetrator of this unspeakable act. We only hope that our work brings justice and clarity and ultimately leads to some semblance of closure for those left behind. We will now identify the victims, and we ask again that you respect the privacy of their families as they mourn the loss of their loved ones and as this investigation proceeds. The victim from Division Street has been identified as 29-year-old Juliana White, while the 2 victims from Truesdale Road have been identified as 55-year-old Mildred Blackwell and 57-year-old Barbara Rogers. All 3 were residents of Knoxville. Our hearts break for those 3 women, and we are continuing to work towards justice until this case is completely resolved. I want to again go over the circumstances of this incident and the subsequent response by the Knoxville Police Department that brings us up to this moment. The initial call came in around 4:38 a.m. on Sunday, March 8th, as officers responded to a report of a female, now identified as Juliana White, who was possibly deceased in the roadway in the area of Division Street and Liberty Street. She was located by officers on Division Street approximately 500 feet west of Liberty Street and pronounced deceased at the scene from multiple gunshot wounds to the torso. The preliminary investigation as a result of that then led investigators to the residence at 6629 Truesdale Road, where Mildred Blackwell and Barbara Rogers were found deceased from gunshot wounds. Following those discoveries, all available resources were quickly mobilized to investigate this incident, and with great teamwork and cooperation between multiple units in the Criminal Investigation Division and the Patrol Division, leads were developed that quickly identified the primary suspect. Within hours of the initial response, with assistance from the Special Operations Squad negotiators, West District Patrol units, and more, Desmond Ray was located and taken into custody without incident. We want to applaud the efforts. They don't want me to do this, but we want to applaud the efforts of the Major Crimes Unit, in particular, the 3 investigators behind me, Chaz Terry, Jason Booker, and Andrew Markham, along with Sergeant Rodney Patton. We should also point out that these 3 got thrown into this investigation after working the entire back half of last weekend, this weekend, alongside the Knoxville office of the FBI, and that investigation that ultimately led to the arrest of the 37-year-old suspect for 3 successive bank robberies in West Knoxville. So that was great work by these guys, and again, they wouldn't want me to do that, so I'm doing it myself anyway. So again, this remains an ongoing investigation, and we don't have any further information. We thought it was important for us to get out in front and say something about this. We know that when you hear of something like this, it's important for the community to hear from us and to see that, that a concerted effort on our part that ultimately ended up getting a very dangerous suspect off the street less than 12 hours after this crime occurred. So, can't answer any questions related to this particular investigation because, again, at this time, the only concern on our mind is to make sure that we bring the ultimate justice for these 3 victims. So, thank you all for being here, and we'll update you if anything new emerges.
Sir, just out of respect of those victims, do you mind going down the list and spelling out their names for us?
We'll send out a release with their names. Right after we walk out of this press conference, I'll send a release with their names. And again, those details that we just went over.
Thank you.
It's kind of, you're not answering questions, but you mentioned that Ray was obviously facing charges. Can you detail those charges with
We can get those charges for you. The DA's office is going to take that over after this, though, but he was held on separate charges.
I know that those
on
were
no
separate,
bond.
but I didn't know if those had changed since.
No, sir.
That's okay.
No, sir. You would have to, the investigation will be turned over to the DA's office, and then those charges are pending.
And there was only one person arrested, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Any relation to the victims? To him or the victims themselves?
The victims and suspects were known to one another, the victims, our first victim, Juliana White, was the daughter of, looking back in my sheet here, was the daughter of Mildred Blackwell, and Barbara Rogers was her roommate.
Rogers was Blackwell's roommate?
Yes, yes, sir. So thank you all again. We appreciate you, and again, and really appreciate that, and want to applaud the efforts of everybody up here and to be able to work towards a resolution on this. Thank you.